The steady beep of hospital monitors had become the soundtrack to my life over the past week. I sat beside my father's bed, watching his chest rise and fall with mechanical precision, wondering if he could even hear me anymore. The doctors said the cancer was winning, that it was just a matter of days now. Still here, Diana. My sister Catherine's voice dripped with artificial concern as she clicked into the room in her designer heels. You should go home, get some rest. Peter and I can handle everything. I didn't look up from Dad's face. I'm fine where I am. Catherine sighed dramatically. You know, if you just taken that management position Peter offered you at Maxwell Industries, you could afford to take time off. Instead of, she gestured vaguely at my wrinkled clothes. This. By this, she meant my choice to become a research scientist instead of joining the family business. Maxwell Industries, founded by our grandfather and now run by our older brother Peter, was a technological manufacturing giant. They made everything from smartphones to military components, and both Catherine and Peter had slipped easily into executive roles. I was the family disappointment, more interested in pure research than profit margins. Dad had been the only one who understood, who supported my decision to pursue my doctorate in quantum mechanics instead of an MBA. Where is Peter, anyway? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Board meeting, Catherine replied. Some of us have actual responsibilities, Diane. We can't just sit around. A weak cough from the bed cut her off. Dad's eyes fluttered open, focusing first on me, then sliding to Catherine. Kitty, he whispered, using her childhood nickname. Give us a moment. Catherine's perfectly maintained smile faltered. But Dad, please. His voice was barely audible. She left, her heels clicking a staccato beat of frustration. Diana. Dad's hand reached for mine, trembling with effort. Listen carefully. I leaned closer. I'm here, Dad. The old factory, on River Street. Each word seemed to cost him tremendous energy. My lab, in the basement. The key. He started coughing again. Dad, save your strength. We can talk later. No. His grip tightened suddenly. No time. Keys in my study, behind Maxwell's portrait. You'll understand. When you see. See what? I asked, but his eyes were already closing again. Trust no one, he whispered. Not even family. Those were his last words to me. He slipped into a coma that night and was gone by morning. The funeral was exactly what you'd expect for a titan of industry. Peter gave a touching eulogy about carrying on the family legacy. Catherine dabbed her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. Business associates and society friends filled the church, all offering condolences and barely concealed business pitches to the new CEO. I sat in the back row, my mind racing with questions. The old factory on River Street had been Maxwell Industries' first manufacturing facility, abandoned decades ago when operations moved to a modern campus outside the city. What could possibly be there that was so important? Diana. Peter's voice interrupted my thoughts. He stood over me in his perfect black suit, every inch the corporate leader. We need to discuss your future with the company. I looked up at my older brother, the golden child, the chosen heir, the one who had spent years trying to force me into the corporate mold. I have a future, I said, at the university. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Come on, sis. Dad's gone now. Time to grow up and join the real world. I have a position opening in R&D management. No thanks. I stood up, gathering my things. I need to go clean out Dad's study anyway. Peter's smile vanished. Actually, Catherine and I will handle that. Family papers, you understand. Sensitive company information. I thought about the key Dad had mentioned. I have just as much right. You gave up your rights to company business when you chose to play scientist instead of taking responsibility, he snapped. Then, recovering his composure, we'll box up any personal items for you. I watched him walk away, already working the room, accepting condolences with practiced grace. He had no idea that Dad's last words had been meant for me, not him. No idea that whatever was hidden in that old factory could change everything. That night, I waited until the security guard made his usual rounds at the family estate, then slipped in through the garden entrance. A secret path I discovered during childhood games of hide and seek. Dad's study was exactly as he left it, down to the half-empty coffee cup still sitting on his desk. Maxwell's portrait dominated one wall, our grandfather looking sternly down at anyone who dared enter his son's domain. It took me 15 minutes of careful searching to find the hidden catch behind the frame. When I pressed it, a small panel clicked open, revealing a tarnished brass key and a folded piece of paper. The paper contained a series of numbers, coordinates, maybe, or a code. But the key was old, its design unlike anything used in modern buildings. The kind of key that might open a door that hadn't been touched in decades. As I closed the panel and carefully replaced the portrait, I heard voices in the hallway. Peter and Catherine, coming to start going through Dad's things. Have to find it, Peter was saying. If she figures out what's in that factory. She won't, Catherine replied. Diana's naive. She probably thinks Dad's last words were just fever dreams. I slipped out the way I'd come in, the key burning a hole in my pocket. They knew. Whatever was in that factory, they knew about it, and they were desperate to keep me from finding it. The next morning, I drove to River Street, the old industrial district that had once been the heart of the city's manufacturing boom. The Maxwell Industries factory stood like a ghost among renovated warehouses and trendy loft apartments. 3 stories of red brick and broken windows, surrounded by a chain-link fence bearing no trespassing signs. I parked a block away and watched. Within an hour, I saw 3 different security patrols. Way more than an abandoned building should need. Peter was obviously taking no chances. But Peter had forgotten something crucial about his little sister. Before I was a physicist, I had been an explorer, the kid who found every secret passage in the family mansion, who knew every maintenance tunnel in our private school, who could get anywhere I wasn't supposed to be. And Dad, it seemed, hadn't forgotten. As I studied the factory through binoculars, I noticed something interesting. The security patrols focused on the main entrance and loading docks. But there, almost hidden by overgrown vegetation, was a small door, probably once used by maintenance workers. A door with a very old, very distinctive lock. I waited until night fell, then made my move. The lock was stiff from decades of disuse, but the key turned smoothly. Inside, the air was thick with dust and memories. My phone's flashlight revealed corridors filled with ancient machinery, broken windows letting in sliggers of moonlight. Everything was exactly as you'd expect in an abandoned factory, except for the elevator. Hidden behind a stack of rusted equipment, its doors were clean, its control panel modern. When I pressed the call button, it hummed to life instantly. There was only one button inside, B3, 3 levels below the basement that should have been there. As the elevator descended, I thought about Dad's last words. Trust no one, not even family. The doors opened onto something impossible, a state-of-the-art laboratory that looked like it belonged in a sci-fi movie. Holographic displays filled the air with swirling data. Complex machinery hummed with power. And everywhere, covering every surface, were notes and diagrams in my father's distinctive handwriting. "Oh my God," I whispered, picking up the nearest notebook. "Dad, what were you working on?" The answer, written in bold letters across the first page, made my blood run cold. Project Quantum Gate. Phase 3. Successful transmission achieved. My father, it seemed, had solved the impossible. And now, I understood why my siblings were so desperate to keep me away. Because I was the only one who could understand what he had built, and what it could do to the world. I spent hours in that underground laboratory, my mind struggling to process what I was seeing. The equations covering the walls weren't just theoretical physics. They were practical applications of quantum mechanics that shouldn't have been possible for decades. My father had done what every major tech company and research institution had failed to do. He had created stable quantum transmission, not just data transfer, but actual matter transportation at the quantum level. "The applications are limitless," his notes read. "Instant transportation of materials, secure quantum communications, even biological matter transfer. But the dangers if misused." The rest of that page was torn out. I searched the lab, but couldn't find it. My phone buzzed. Catherine calling for the 5th time. I ignored it, focusing instead on a series of video files labeled test results. The first few showed failed experiments, quantum fluctuations that dissolved test objects into particles. But the later ones, test 47 successful. My father's voice narrated as a small metal cube disappeared from one chamber and instantly appeared in another. Complete molecular reconstruction achieved. No degradation of original material. The final video was dated just 2 months ago, shortly before his diagnosis. The military applications alone would be worth billions, he said, looking tired but determined. Which is exactly why this can never fall into the wrong hands. Peter thinks quantum tech is just another weapon to sell. He doesn't understand the responsibility that comes with this kind of power. A noise upstairs made me freeze. Footsteps, multiple sets. I quickly copied as many files as I could to my phone, then looked for a way out. There had to be another exit. My father wouldn't have built this place without an escape route. Hidden behind a bank of servers, I found it. A narrow maintenance tunnel with a ladder leading up. Just as I closed the tunnel entrance behind me, the elevator doors opened. "She's been here." Peter's voice echoed in the lab. "Everything's powered up." "Find those notebooks," Catherine snapped. "She can't be allowed to understand what this place is." "Too late," I whispered, starting my climb up the ladder. The tunnel emerged in an abandoned warehouse 2 blocks from the factory. By the time I made it home, my phone was flooded with messages, not just from my siblings, but from Maxwell Industries' legal department. CEAC and DESIST. The email's subject line blared, "Unauthorized access of proprietary company technology." I laughed. They thought corporate lawyers could contain something like this? My doorbell rang just as I was reviewing the copied files. Through the peephole, I saw Catherine, still wearing her funeral clothes. "Diana, open up." She sounded frantic. "We need to talk about what you saw." I stayed silent, watching. "Please," she continued. "You don't understand what's at stake. The company, our family's legacy." "You mean the weapons contracts?" I called through the door. "Is that why you and Peter are so desperate to control Dad's research?" Silence. Then, how much do you know? Enough to understand why Dad wanted me to find it instead of you. I heard her take a shaky breath. We can make a deal. Name your price. Whatever university position you want. Funding for your research. You still don't get it, I said. This isn't about money. It's about responsibility. Dad knew that. Dad was dying, she shouted, mask finally cracking. He wasn't thinking clearly. Peter has buyers lined up. Legitimate military contracts that could transform Maxwell Industries. Into what? I demanded. A weapons manufacturer. Using quantum technology to create something that could destabilize global security. To create something that could protect our nation. A new voice said. Peter, standing at the end of the hallway. Be reasonable, Diana. This is bigger than your moral qualms. I watched through the peephole as he approached, his expression calm, but his eyes cold. The company's board meets tomorrow, he continued. We're announcing a new military research division. Multi-billion-dollar contracts, all pending successful demonstration of the quantum transmission technology. Don't throw away everything Dad built because of some naive idealism. I thought about the torn page from Dad's notebook about his warnings of misuse. Dad built Maxwell Industries to create things that helped people, not weapons. Dad built this company to make money, Peter corrected. And now you're going to help us do exactly that. Whether you want to or not. The threat in his voice was clear. Think carefully about your next move, Catherine added. You're not the only one who can understand Dad's research. Our tech teams are already reverse engineering the lab's systems. What they didn't know was that while they were talking, I was sending encrypted copies of Dad's files to trusted colleagues around the world. People who would understand the importance of controlling this technology. 1 hour, Peter said. You have 1 hour to agree to help us voluntarily. After that, he left the threat hanging. I waited until their footsteps faded, then grabbed my emergency bag, the one I'd packed after finding the lab, knowing this confrontation was coming. But as I headed for my car, my phone buzzed with an alert from one of the security systems I'd installed in the lab. Someone was accessing the main computer, trying to decrypt Dad's core research files. I had a choice. Run and hope my colleagues could protect the research, or go back to the lab and finish what Dad had started. The answer really wasn't a choice at all. My father had trusted me with this responsibility. Now it was time to prove him right. I turned my car toward Rigger Street, toward the lab where everything had started. Peter and Catherine thought they were playing a corporate game, moving pieces on a financial chessboard. But they had forgotten something crucial. I wasn't just their little sister anymore. I was my father's daughter, a scientist who understood exactly what was at stake. And I was done playing by their rules. The old factory looked different at night. Moonlight caught the broken windows, making them glitter like shards of the future my father had tried to protect. As I approached the maintenance entrance, I noticed something odd. The security patrols were gone. That could only mean one thing. Peter and Catherine were already inside. I didn't use the elevator this time. Instead, I found the emergency stairwell Dad had marked in his notes, hidden behind a false wall. 3 levels down, I could hear voices echoing from the lab. The encryption is stronger than we thought, an unfamiliar voice said. Dr. Hayes says it could take days to crack without the proper key sequence. We don't have days. Peter's voice, tight with frustration. The board meets in 12 hours. Without a working demonstration, the military contracts are void. I peered through a ventilation grate. The lab was filled with people, technicians at computer stations, security guards at the doors, and my sibling standing by the quantum transmission chambers. "Where is she?" Catherine demanded, pacing in her designer heels. "Diana's apartment is empty. Her phone's off." "She'll come," Peter said confidently. "She won't be able to resist trying to stop us. And when she does," he gestured to the armed guards. They were right about one thing. I couldn't stay away, but they were wrong about why. I pulled out my phone and activated the program I'd spent the last hour writing. Dad's notes had included emergency protocols, ways to protect his work if it was ever compromised. I'd modified one of them for exactly this situation. Warning: the lab's computer system suddenly announced. Core containment protocols initiated. Quantum stabilization failing in 10 minutes. Chaos erupted in the lab. Technicians scrambled to override the warning as emergency lights began flashing. "What's happening?" Catherine screamed over the alarms. "The quantum field is destabilizing," one of the technicians shouted back. "If we don't shut it down properly, the entire system could collapse." "Then shut it down." "We can't. The controls are locked out." I smiled, stepping out of my hiding place. "Actually, you can. But you'll need my help." Every gun in the room swung toward me. Peter's face twisted with rage. "What did you do?" "Activated Dad's failsafe," I said calmly. "In 8 minutes, the quantum field will collapse, taking all his research with it. The only way to stop it is with an encryption key that only I have." "Give it to us," Catherine demanded. "Now." "Or what? You'll shoot me?" "Then you'll definitely lose everything." Peter raised his hand, stopping the guards from advancing. "Name your price." "My price is simple. Dad's research stays private. No weapons, no military contracts. Maxwell Industries returns to what it was meant to be, a company that creates things to help people, not destroy them." "You're insane," Peter spat. "Do you have any idea how much money?" 5 minutes to quantum field collapse," the computer announced. Catherine grabbed Peter's arm. "We don't have a choice." I pulled out a flash drive. This contains a new corporate charter I had drawn up. It places control of all quantum research under an independent ethics board. Sign it, or watch Dad's life work disappear. Peter's face went through a fascinating series of emotions: rage, calculation, desperation. Finally, he nodded. "Give me the damn papers." The next few minutes were a blur of signatures and quantum calculations. With seconds to spare, I entered the stabilization code, bringing the system back under control. "You played us," Catherine said quietly as the emergency lights faded. "No," I corrected. "I protected us from ourselves." The following days were intense. The board meeting became a very different kind of announcement, not about military contracts, but about Maxwell Industries' new direction in ethical quantum research. Peter fought it at first, but the publicity was overwhelmingly positive. Stock prices soared as tech media celebrated the company's commitment to responsible innovation. Within weeks, civilian applications of Dad's discoveries were changing lives. Quantum-based medical scanners, secure communication systems, clean energy solutions. Catherine eventually came around, especially when she saw how our new direction improved her social standing. "Ethical tech is very in right now," she informed me over our first civil lunch in weeks. The lab became my new workspace, not hidden anymore, but open to carefully selected researchers from around the world. Every morning, I passed Dad's old portrait in the lobby, now hanging beside a plaque with his words, "Power without responsibility is the most dangerous force in the universe." 1 year later, I stood in that same lab, watching as the first quantum-powered medical scanner saved a child's life. The technology that could have been a weapon was now a tool for healing. My phone buzzed. Peter calling. We weren't close, probably never would be, but we'd reached a kind of understanding. The London facility is ready, he said without preamble. Catherine's handling the PR, but we need you there for the technical setup. I'll be there, I promised, just as soon as I finish something here. After hanging up, I walked to the back of the lab, to a door that only I could open. Inside was Dad's private office, exactly as he left it. On his desk sat a letter I'd found hidden in the lab's original encryption code. My dearest Diana, it began, if you're reading this, you've done exactly what I knew you would. You saw beyond profit and power to the real potential of what we've created. Your siblings never understood that our work wasn't about money or success. It was about making the world better, one discovery at a time. I touched the letter gently, feeling closer to him than I had since those final moments in the hospital. Trust no one, he told me. But what he'd really meant was, trust yourself. The quantum gate hummed quietly in the background, its blue light casting shadows on the wall. The same technology that could have started wars was now saving lives. All because one person chose responsibility over power. My phone buzzed again, another breakthrough at the medical center. I smiled, tucking Dad's letter back into its drawer. There would always be people like Peter and Catherine, seeing only dollar signs and power plays. But there would also always be people who understood what Dad had taught me, that the greatest discoveries aren't the ones that make us rich or powerful, but the ones that make us better. As I headed out to help with the new medical protocol, I passed the factory's old entrance. The no trespassing signs were gone, replaced by Maxwell Industries' new slogan, innovation with integrity. Dad would have liked that. And somewhere, in whatever quantum realm he might be watching from, I knew he was smiling.